And welcome everybody to the victory celebration at the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500. Day after yesterday's thrilling 5th edition of the world's greatest sim race, we'll take a little bit of time tonight to run through some awards from the day that was yesterday at the world's greatest race course. Talk to a couple drivers, whoever wants to show up, and then get out of here and start planning for 2026 and next year's edition of the world's greatest sim race. Well, I'm Tanner Watkins, president of the PRI Hoosier 500, and we welcome you back to a little replay coverage of yesterday's Hoosier 500. It was live on the PRI Facebook and YouTube channels. You could find it still by searching Performance Racing Industry and the Hoosier 500. Special thanks given to our commentators yesterday, Arjuna Kankapati, Gary Godso, and Lewis McGlade. Appreciate having them aboard, and thank you to all of our drivers, the 33 that made the field, the one extra, Noah Carmichael, that filled in as an alternate, our officiants, Connor and Ryan. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you everybody who tuned in throughout the month of December. Clear off some of these elements here. And what we're going to do, I'm going to do a quick run through highlighting some of the information that we pushed out earlier today on the prizes that were awarded in this year's Hoosier 500, talking mainly about the physical prizes. So if we start with Robert Malechka, the winner of the Hoosier 500, he obviously takes home the prizes that the winner earns. That includes the winner's milk bottle, the winner's ring from 40 Racewear, the milk bottle presented by Fair Oaks Farms, pair of gloves from 40 Racewear, the team-issued watch from Cusick Motorsports, the steering wheel from MPI Max Pappas Innovations, the SimMax GT model, prints of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway from Octane Artworks, and a awesome button box from Simperior, who was our sponsor of Shakedown Saturday. Those are all in the winner's package for Rob. In addition to that, Rob took home the 40 Racewear Pole Award, which carries a cash prize, as well as the Pole Sitter's ring from 40 Racewear and an additional pair of gloves from 40 Racewear. And Rob also took home the cash prizes for the Front Row Award, the Halfway Challenge Award for leading the 100th lap of the race, and the Leader Circle Award for leading the most laps in the race. Moving down the grid, Phil Kraus also took home the cash prize for the Front Row Award for qualifying on the front row. He finished third in Sunday's PRI Hoosier 500. In fourth place, Tyquilla won the Screenmobile Rookie of the Year Award. So congrats to Ty for taking home the prestigious Rookie of the Year honors. He also won the Hard Charger Award for the most spots gained. I believe Ty started 23rd, if I remember correctly, and finished 4th. So congrats on making up the most spots in the field throughout the race from Ty, driving the green machine for Rogue Racing. So we move down to 8th place. Jason Brophy took home the Visitor Watch Company Fastest Lap of the Race Award. It was set on lap 196. Brendan Lichtenberg finished 13th in the race, but on Saturday, Shakedown Saturday, he won the Visitor Watch Company Pit Stop competition. And in 14th place, Ricky Paz won the Ironman Award for the most practice laps completed throughout the month of December, just short of 900. So thank you, Ricky, for coming out and spending a lot of time out on track during practice throughout the month of December, particularly being present during the airings of Today at the 500. We do appreciate all of your presence there. In 19th place, Alexander Russell picked up a couple of cash prizes, one for being our final driver on the front row and winning a cash prize for being part of the front row award, and for taking home honors as the highest starting rookie in the field. Alexander again finished 19th after leading laps early in the race. Chris Fowler won the On the Bubble award, finishing 22nd, but being the 33rd ranked qualifier at the end of the day on Bump Day during Swift Penguin Creations qualifications weekend. And Chris also took home a small cash prize for being part of the last row in the last row award. Noah Carmichael also took home a small cash prize for being part of the last row by making his way into the field via Henry Bennett's withdrawal on Sunday. And Lucas Lodato, he finished 29th and was also part of the last row and was one of our 33 starters. So that takes us through the unique prizes. Obviously, cash payouts for making the race all the way through the field, varying in size. And so while we have the chance, we're going to bring in some drivers. We got Alexander Russell, Jason Brophy, and Robert Malechka waiting in the lounge. I'm going to see if I can bring them in right now. All right, so I think we are joined by a trio of power slide drivers, Alexander Russell, Jason Brophy, and Robert Malechka. Rob away from keys just for a few moments, but Alexander, Jason, welcome to the day after the Hoosier 500. Did you guys hop in that Monday night race earlier?
I did not.
I was doing some work for school.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll get right to it. Obviously, both of you guys spent time at the front of the field on Sunday. The conditions, I think there's some discourse out there that perhaps the real life track temp and where the number read, there could be a little discrepancy there. It sounded like it was pretty slick out there. Just talk about each of your races and what the track really felt like. You know, it said it hovered in the high teens, 115 to 120 or so, but is there any possibility you think that was actually higher in practice?
Yeah, it definitely was. I actually did some testing today, just a little bit at about 127, and I think we probably ended around 122. It definitely changed during the race. At the start, it was just slick, and I think Alex will say the same thing. It was really bad at the start, and I struggled a lot.
Yeah.
Just to stay close in dirty air, and that's kind of when we determined no fuel safe. I just can't stay close enough right now to make it at all possible with the 3 parade laps and stuff on top of not being able to stay anywhere near the car in front.
Sure.
So Alex had an easier call at that point, though. So.
Yeah, it was a little easier being up front and doing the swap with Rob, but there was definitely car handling issues early on in the race, and that was something that set the tone for most of my race going through it. But it was treacherous, especially early on in the race. I definitely thought it was slicker and hotter than the track temp read, but for most of it went pretty well.
Obviously, on Tuesday, the hybrid comes out. You know, what did the days look like for you guys between then and race day? Obviously, we were first couple of days, we didn't really consider or talk that much as a community about the weather changing and what that would look like. So it really even tightened the window to the weekend and knowing, at least the box that we were trying to be in for race day. What did your team's, preparation look like as you kind of learned the hybrid, not just deployment, but how it affected the balance of the car, perhaps if it did at all. I haven't driven the car since Tuesday, so what was that like as you kind of felt your way through everything?
Well, at
Um,
least for me, it was a lot of getting to grips with how to deploy the hybrid, which some things were definitely taken to heart, others were there are just errors made throughout the race. But uh um other than that, it was a lot of getting used to working within Power Slide and the team, since this is the first 500 I've ran with them, kind of feeling how we set up the race, what kind of early lap procedures are going on, and how to more or less put the whole thing together.
yeah, Alex. What are your thoughts on charging your hybrid to full?
Um, uh, you know, s- sometimes we didn't get the memo that the full battery is 100 or a super capacitor, and yeah, so that made things a little more difficult when it came to
I,
swapping.
I appreciate you letting Hugo and I catch up by only charging about 75%. But
They weren't supposed to know that.
huh? What? Oh, um,
Rob would appreciate
uh,
that.
so yeah, for us, like that's the first night I spent just doing a lot of hybrid. And you had so many buttons. Right, like it's just a busy car now. You gotta figure out
Yeah.
when you're gonna regen. You gotta figure out when you're gonna deploy. You gotta make sure you have your weight checker set for traffic. You have it set for clean air. Right, there's a difference there. There's a swing. You change your car pretty good when you're in traffic. So, um, and just the first night spent testing hybrid, and then a lot of that got thrown out. It didn't seem right. So did more testing of that, and then testing traffic and dealing with the extra weight and different weather, anticipating, hey, we're gonna get a forecast. Then we got the forecast. What was it? Friday, and with full panic mode, or Thursday, late Thursday night, early Friday morning, just because it was going to be so hot and the racing was going to be rough. And um, figuring out what we had to do to make the car good. And I think ideally the weather was set pretty good. It just iRacing not reporting right on what it is.
Yeah.
It seems like kind of a thing right now, and that's fine. Like it actually was. I will say this: I think it actually turned out pretty well because it was real slick to start, but I think at the first caution or over the course of the race, it definitely cooled down some, and I think we ended up under that 125-ish mark. Um, that felt like it opened things up, and you could do a little more on the track without you making it a wild pack race. So I think it
Right.
felt a lot better at the end of the race. Sadly, I dropped off the pack, but hopefully prepared. We were a little under arrowed, some people more than others, and just to start the race and feel it out. And a lot of work went into that and didn't get it right, but have to be able to adapt.
Do you guys think? And if I'm trying to think back who I asked this to yesterday. I think I asked Blocker perhaps, and maybe Phil, if that early run, really the first fuel stint in particular, I was really surprised at how much the field spread out, and especially the pockets of the field that kind of formed, and how big some of those gaps were to each of those pockets. Do you attribute that to really the weather even being more unpredictable than we thought, and how slick the track was at the beginning? How much do you feel the field as a whole was maybe caught off guard there? And you talk about balance of the car, and I think a lot of teams maybe were scattered across the board on what they had arrow wise, coming into the race, and maybe they would go in different directions. Just how do you feel, especially early on in the race, that played out relative to what we expected?
I
Um,
think
you go first, Jason.
Yeah, I think this time, like especially when it's hot like that and you get people spreading out more, it just opens up the ability to split on a pit cycle a lot harder,
True.
right? And I think that's what happened. You kind of see that. Was it the second stop? I think Alexis had an issue. We broke away in the first stop. Adam broke from Jacob, and depending on where things. I don't know where exactly it was at that point, but if you have one person make a mistake or two people make a mistake, and you're the third car and you're 1.8 back, you're just not going to tow up, right? The car in front of you is more likely to tow away in that initial piece, depending on the gap, and so then you're going to get dropped. And then Phil, and especially when Phil took over, with Rob, and not to downplay Alex, but the swap became so fast it was hard to stay on, and I think you
Yeah.
saw that. We'd catch up, but Rob was so good through traffic it was hard to stay latched on. In the first run, like even Hugo and I had some issues getting out of my pit locks, my clutch sticking on basically, that cost me some time, and it was just like those small issues. When it's hot and you have those big gaps, it just magnifies them because that draft only goes back so far,
Yeah.
and you lose it. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially after the formation laps and the prairie laps, where we kind of found out that the fuel number wasn't really easy or really possible. It was just swap, go fast, try and push the issue. And with the hot track, it just felt like, yeah, it spread out and pit stops became really critical. Just stay attached to the group.
we now welcome our race winner, Robert Malechka, in to the booth here. Rob, we're just talking about how the race played out. Obviously, at the beginning, the conditions were slick and challenging. You seem to have a car. Obviously, you guys all run either same setups or similar setups, but you seem to have a lot of confidence with the piece that was under you. Just talk about feeling out the race in the early stages, and how maybe you felt like you were positioning yourself relative to the weather.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable in the warmer conditions, especially when things get pretty slick and greasy. I think the way I drive really benefits those conditions, and we weren't really sure what downforce trim to go with, so I think we were all kind of all over the place, and it was huge that first stint, those first 32, 34 laps, just communicating, seeing what people's wings were at, and seeing what they thought of their balance throughout the run there, especially those last 10 laps, because I know at least for me those last 10, mainly 5 laps of the stint were extremely hairy. So once we got the right changes, it was honestly pretty smooth sailing, excuse me, car wise, balance wise, and after that, really the first stint for me was not easy, but not that difficult. So yeah.
As we look, obviously, first half of the race, pretty smooth. We ripped off, I think it was about 115 laps green, and we get to the second half of the race, get a few cautions, particularly late. As we got into the late stages, we had a couple guys like Ty Keela and Ryan Campbell that were up there with you guys in the top 5. What did you see from them? Ty takes home Rookie of the Year honors, and he was mixing it up late on there. How did you judge their cars, how their cars were handling the weather conditions, the traffic, and I'm sure you felt confident both in your own abilities and having teammates around, but how do you rate them and their competitiveness as it came into the closing stages of the race?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really see them for the first 198 laps. I was probably 15 laps away from lapping all of them, because we were just, as we just so much faster. I think we had probably 2/10 on the field. It made our lives pretty easy. But once it's packed up, everyone's on cold tires, light fuel. When you can't be building the runs as we were the entire race before that, it really stalls the first 2-3 guys out. So at that point, it's just, I'm not gonna say it's luck per se, because they did a good job putting themselves in that position, but not being able to build those runs and kind of control the race. And really, honestly, the bigger thing in my eyes was the hybrid. I didn't know it was going to be that important at the end.
Yeah.
Because we weren't able to recharge. While I think we were 3 wide for a few laps there, and the guys in fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh were able to just get 100% battery every straight, and we're just taking these massive runs. And in prior years, they wouldn't be able to get there, but the hybrid probably gains you another a tenth, maybe even a bit more with the draft. And so we were really worried because at that point we're scrubbing so much speed, and they're taking any run they can get because they're in a really good position with being able to have the battery and knowing that we can't do anything, right? So credit to them for surviving the race, and honestly, most of the field for surviving the race, right, before those last few yells, because it was tricky out there, and I know if I was hanging on, I think everyone else was. So
just looking through the field here, pretty incredible. 5 drivers led laps, all of them power slide drivers. By all accounts, I think this is the most dominant month that we've seen from a team at the Hoosier 500 in its history, dating back to 2019. You guys just talk about. I know there's discourse in the IndyCar community server earlier today, and it's great to see that return back to normal after the race weekend ends. Just talk about obviously you guys have some greater goals in mind, and the Pro Series comes back, which is awesome for our community in the new year. Just talk about the dynamic of where Power Slide's at right now, and the evolution over the years to get to where you guys are today, and how happy you are with the current program and the guys that are in the team.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a bit boring if there's not a little bit of beef at the end of these things, but yeah, I mean, we made our first really big changes Power Slide just like a year and a half ago, having Phil and Jason join, and Josh Chin as well. And we knew that was the first step for us to take a big jump in our competitiveness with the upcoming Pro Series. And I believe Jason and Phil saw the exact same thing, where we've worked together in the past for quite a while now, especially on the V8 Supercar side of things, and it was a pretty natural fit. But we saw last year in Pro Series we were really close. I think Phil and I can both say that we could have both done one spot better. We threw away things with our mistakes, and hopefully with this season coming on, adding Jacob, adding Alex, and also working with Michele and a few of the Coanda guys, that even though there's one less oval for us, I think we got a really good shot to have a member of the community represent us well and hopefully win this thing. So, whether that's most likely Phil or Michele, I think we have a really good shot. And as long as we're working really well together, that's all we can really control. So,
And I won't be in the car, so I'll make sure you have enough fuel for a race.
yeah, yeah. I guess if anyone doesn't know, at Gateway, I underfilled myself quite a bit, thinking like I would be okay, but fresh tires and light fuel, you are burning way more fuel than you would think. So I probably lost myself at least 15 points. That was going to put me in third place. So mistake on my end, but obviously a learning one. But yeah, even I'll continue to do that because light fuel makes your car go faster. But
yeah, you were going to finish second.
Time in the moment.
No, Rob. I think you finished sixth, and you were going to finish second, so that was a rough one.
I lost
just
at least
way underfilled. Rob came out of the pit, said it was. So. Oh no, but yeah, I think I went through the Pro, and that's why we joined up with Power Slide, and I think you're kind of seeing it now, is that it's a grind, and we were lacking in road course speed last year, just secondary opinions. We have a lot of people that can give a lot of different opinions, and it helps us get to good setups. But I think we were missing that in road. We didn't really have a second driver to Phil's level, and I think with Michele working with us for the Pro Series, that's going to help a lot. We'll have that secondary feedback. Michele's really good on road. I think we'll be strong in the ovals. We'll see what happens. 2 of them are Nashville and Phoenix. Different packages, but I think we'll be strong in the ovals regardless. The other one's Indy. This was a good dry run for Indy, so
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I do think we'll be strong. It's just you got to be on top of your game. You got to hit. It's hard to hit Q. 1 lap Q is difficult. Just 1 lap to get it done. You don't get a. There's no banking. There's nothing. And the margins are so fine at the top level. I don't have to experience that. These other two did. They got themselves back through, so it'll be fun to provide support instead. I'm kind of more used to being in that support role, the crew chief role, so I think I'm probably better in it. And so I'm excited to go forward with that here, coming up in about a month, before a little less than for the first race.
Alexander, if you want, just talk about preparing for the Pro Series. Jason mentions how slim the margins are. What does that look like as a driver? Trying to put yourself in the best possible spot to succeed. Obviously, there's a lot of support within the team and a lot of time and resources being put into it. But how do you make sure that you get everything yourself out of that?
Well, especially for the pro level stuff, you got to be able to work with your teammates well. If you're slow at one track, you can work with them, look at data, understand, okay, maybe I can use a little bit more brake in turn one here. I am a little wide on entry to this corner, and that's compromising the next one. And you're just looking through data, you're driving as much as you can. Well, big engineers like Phil, Rob, Jason, are all Adam. Everybody's working really hard on the race sets, qualifying sets, and it's just effort, putting as much repetition into where you get comfortable and you don't really have to think going into your lap, which for qualifying, sometimes it's easier than others, which I've definitely made a bad reputation to start towards the back and coke with 1 lap qualifiers. So it's just getting yourself to a level where you don't need to think anymore and you can just execute at a high level.
Where do you see the differences between the NASCAR Coke Series and then taking on the iRacing IndyCar Pro Series? I assume maybe it's a little bit easier to drive up through the field in Cup cars, but I want to hear your opinion on that. Interested to hear just how slim the margins are and how air dependent these cars can be. What's that balance like, or the flexibility you feel?
They have their similarities and they have their differences. With NASCAR, since there's there is one car just like IndyCar, we have just one chassis. Everybody has the same playing ground, but the difference with the Dallara IR18 is you have so many options with tool settings. We now have hybrid, so you can be creative with weight jacker in traffic to make a car handle better. Well, in NASCAR, you have to be very deliberate with how the chassis is to have it good enough in traffic, but you can also lead.
Yeah,
And it's more of a limitation in NASCAR. Well,
interesting.
it can be easy to drive through the field if you're really smart and you're really fast and consistent. They have their similarity with dirty air just being really hard to pass in. Like it's with the new Cup car update, they made it a lot closer to realism. So just being behind another car is enough to cut that whole lane off.
Right. In this case, the realism isn't really what we would like to have, but it's what we get ultimately.
Yeah.
All right, I won't hold you guys too much longer. I just want to say thank you for being part of the event and the contributions that you make to it by being awesome competitors. We really appreciate it. Appreciate Power Slide's participation in the event, and congrats to Rob on finishing one spot better from last year and taking home the victory at the end of the day yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think none of this happens without you and Ryan, right? So, you guys take a lot of time out of your days to find sponsors, put up sessions, things like that, and make sure everything goes to plan. And even when things don't go to plan, you guys find a way to fix it. So, I know myself and these guys in the community really appreciate everything you guys have done behind the scenes because, it might seem like it's easy to do, but it's definitely not. So, we really appreciate all you guys do for us.
All right.
Yeah, second what Rob
Yeah,
said.
we just
I-
can't thank you enough.
Watching Q, I love Indy Q, and watching Q was just riveting with a bunch of people trying to make the show, and it's just good to see participation coming back after the fiasco back in 2023 and seeing so many people right there. This is the community event, right? There were esports teams in May past. Well, I say we kind of turned into one, but like this is seeing the people at the bottom of the community, like everybody fighting it out for those last spots and just run after run and the stress involved, and then the
That's what
race. I
makes
mean,
Indy Indy.
it is, and so it was so good to see a record number of attempts. Has to be a number of drivers that's a record that drove, and if it's not, it's probably the best since 2019. But it's just great to see everybody kind of back in at Indy and going through that stress. So
Yeah, honestly, the qualifying weekend, even when I started, that was my favorite, and 6 years later, it's still my favorite. So, yeah, that's the best part for me. Really, really enjoyed both, like you said, record number of drivers, attempts. I'm sorry, and it was drivers both on the entry list and those to make a run. So, yeah, it was an awesome group, and it is cool to see the community come together. We're excited to put it on. I think it'll be even better next year. And coming back this year, I didn't know exactly what to expect, knowing that at least the entries from the last couple years had been down a little bit. It was really cool to see, a lot of people that I don't know too, show up and get to build relationships with some newer drivers in the community and whatnot. So yeah, we're really excited about next year. We've already got PRI on board, plus a couple others that we'd expect to come back and get us off to a really good start. So thank you guys. Gonna let you have the rest of your evening, but again, appreciate you. Best of luck in the Pro Series coming up. We'll be rooting you on, and hope to see you back in December 2026.
Yeah, thanks, Tanner. Take care.
thank you.
I plan on being there. Thank you.
All right. That's the gentleman from Power Slide, Robert Malechka, Jason Brophy, and Alexander Russell, all with really strong runs yesterday. Late race penalty hampered Alexander's finishing position, but certainly led laps, qualified up front, was a force throughout the day. Expect them to be back and be tough again next year. All right, well, seeing as though there are no drivers right now in the lobby, we're going to put a bow on the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500. Again, thank you to all the drivers who participated in this year's event. Thank you to all of our sponsors and partners that help make this the world's greatest sim race. And thank you to fans and supporters out there that tuned in to all the broadcasts, the nightly 1-hour shows today at the 500, hosted by Gary Godso and analysts Andrew Wood and Luis Nunez. Of course, everybody at Race Spot TV, Arjuna Kankapati, Hugo over there who helped out as well. And our friends at PRI, Mike Good, Jim Liao, JP Hendon. Appreciate all you guys and the work that you did to help make this happen this year. It was a great event for us. Look forward to building back bigger in 2026. Well, from Indianapolis, my name is Tanner Watkins, signing off for the last time. We will see you next December at the PRI Hoosier 500.